fingerboard with its rad faux wood grain texture created by sanding the PVC. So now what do we need? Well, we need a veritable mountain of 4-inch zip ties. Once again, they need to have a smooth side and a toothy side. Smooth, toothy, smooth, toothy. Okay, so it's been a minute since I've done one of these, so basically the process for installing the frets is what you would expect from a zip tie. So we have a hole on each side all the way down the fingerboard. So those pairs of holes are of course going to be the holes through which these zip ties go. So, most important thing, obviously, the smooth side needs to face up, because that's the part we want touching the cello strings. So for each fret, you're going to need 2 zip ties. One that goes on the outside, so you put it, the box, I'll call it the box, this is the part that the teeth lock into. You put it through the back, the box sits on the back side, obviously, you don't want that exposed. Goes up and through, and back down to the back. So, and we can't get longer zip ties in this width, or else at least I haven't been able to find them. So if you can find longer zip ties in this width, which is about 2 millimeters. If you can get longer zip ties that are 2 mil wide, you could do this with just 1 per fret. But with these that I've always used, you got to use 2 per fret. So on the back side here, you're gonna have about equal lengths on each side coming through, and then your second helper zip tie is gonna go through teeth there, and go through the teeth on the one from the front. And you just want to make sure that you end up with the 2 boxes, the line between them roughly going down the center of the fingerboard, and you just want to pull it tight with your hand. Don't want to use a tool here, because these things actually rip fairly easily once you get past a certain amount of force. So it's important to just use your hand to pull it tight. And then once this is screwed down onto the neck of the mini guitar, what you're actually going to get is these boxes. These boxes are going to be pushed down toward the inside edge of the PVC simply by resting on the neck. So that's actually going to get you a bit of extra tightening of the zip ties just from screwing it down onto the neck. But as you can see, I mean, that's not really going anywhere. It's locked in there pretty good, and with that extra tightening from being screwed down onto the neck, that's going to do you just fine. So I've made how many? This is my 5th Cellotar that I've made using this exact fretting method, and I have never had one of these break. However, the reason that I have the screw holes holding this down to the fingerboard is because should one of these frets ever break, should the zip tie fail, all you gotta do is unscrew all the screws, pop this off the neck, and then just replace the fret with a couple more zip ties. So that's the idea. I've never had one break though, so it seems like it is a pretty robust system, and let's go ahead and keep doing some more of them. Yep, you see right there, pulled too hard and it snapped it. So that happens. That's why you may need to make sure you have extra of these zip ties. But I believe they come in bags of 100 at Lowe's. So I haven't done the math on how many of these you need, but 22 times 2 is 44, plus say a couple for the nut, and some extras, so maybe 50 per fretboard that you make with 22 frets. So a bag of 100 should do 2 fretboards. So if you want to build more than one, maybe one high tuned, maybe one low tuned. That was sort of my thinking for a while, was you could have one in baritone ukulele tuning, which is the highest 4 strings on the guitar, and then have one that's the low tuning that I usually use, which is the lowest 4 strings on the guitar, E, A, D, G. Between those two instruments, you'd cover the entire guitar range and have some ability to play back and forth. Alright, so I got 3 of these done now. As you can see, the tension holds them nice and flush to the fingerboard, which is why this works so well for fretting. Now, I have something that is undesirable happened here, where when I tightened the second zip tie, boxes ended up not in the middle. So that can be really bad, because as you go up the neck, these really need to be centered so that when you screw the whole thing down, there will be enough of a cavity here in the curvature of the PVC for those boxes to exist. So I'm going to grab some pliers and try to scoot those over, and if I can't, I'm just going to cut the zip ties out and do it again. So, because I accidentally installed this one off center, use these pliers, try to, yep, nope, broke it. Gotta redo this one. Like I said, these, I'm gonna use a lot of these zip ties, so when you're done, you want to take a pair of snips like these and cut the ends off. You can cut flush with the boxes. You don't have to leave any extra, because the tooth that holds it is down inside there. And as you snip these, you're preparing these to, as I've mentioned, like they're going to sit inside the curve of the fingerboard and get kind of squashed down when you screw it down to the guitar neck, and that will tighten these frets even further. And rinse and repeat. So one important note that I remembered as I was doing this is, so you have the one zip tie that goes through, loops around, and comes back. Well, in order to fit in the concavity of this fretboard, these little boxes need to be as close to the middle as possible. So The important thing is when you are putting the second zip tie on, you want to stop like the first or second tooth of the one that pulled through, because that way when you tighten the second zip tie, you end up with the boxes closer to the middle, and thus more likely to sit flush on the guitar neck when this is laid down on top of it. So some of these are pretty wide down here. I don't know if I might end up having to redo them. Don't be like me, kids. Don't forget this important point. Always get that second zip tie on the tooth closest to the outer edge of the first one you possibly can. Yay! Okay, so once you're done fretting, you need to look down the fretboard and look for inconsistencies in height. Look for the frets coming up higher toward the left and right edges. I'm not seeing any of that here. This appears to be probably the best fretting job I've ever done. I did have to use pliers to tighten some of these back ones, and I did rip a few doing that. But if you do have areas where the frets are popping up, then just take some super glue, put it underneath the fret, and just press it down. Just press that fret down for 30 seconds. The super glue underneath it, and that should get it to stop popping up. Now note, as you're getting closer and closer to the back, you're not going to be able to get these rear ones very far in because of how wide they are, how wide the fingerboard is when it gets to the back. However, if you check it against the template, see I have a line called approximate back edge of neck heel. Okay, well, approximate back edge of neck heel is here, and all the ones in front of that point look like they will squish in enough to be flat. So all the ones after that point are irrelevant because they're not going to have any, there'll be no neck underneath that part. That'll just be sticking out the back. So we're good. These are all done. So now we move on to the nut.